lieber night. I'm here with Jarek. Jarek is the Group CIO of IFFCO, and we want to talk a little bit about IFFCOs and his journey with Zoho in the past and going forward. But first things first, what is IFFCO about?
Yeah, so IFFCO is a Middle-based or UAE-based large FMCG company. We're talking about the food manufacturing. We're talking also a bit of a beauty business. We're talking about the packaging and the transportation. It's a private company with the operations right now across the 50 different countries. We're talking about the 15,000 plus employees. The headquarters is in Dubai, so we operate starting from Indonesia, ending into Brazil.
Oh, you're the group CFO of a big company.
Yeah.
So what keeps you awake at night?
We are still in the consolidation of our ERPs. And we've been a bit too long in this journey, so that is bringing a bit of obstacles of bringing some of the new technologies. Because whenever, for example, manufacturing plants you have in one system, distribution is still in the other, there are obviously limitations which are coming, and you know the effort of having that synchronized probably is not worth when you are going to anyway replace the system. So that's one of the challenges we have at this point of time, to have one single source of ERP transactions.
Yeah, and if you are talking with multiple ERPs, then you have fun.
Yeah, we do. So majority of our entities, we are shifting between these two biggest players in the world, but we still have a few small entities spread to some very emerging markets where definitely, you know, one of those big ERPs can be a bit of overkill, and we need to tailor or find a solution which we still can work and to perform the transactions on the ground, and bring that for some kind of consolidation from the reporting standpoint to the main ERPs. Okay. So this kind of things, it's more operational, but that brings a limitation if we are talking about the analytics. You know, even item numbers between the systems are different. Okay, you can find the way how you can link those two things, but the transactions are different steps, different data you capture. So all these challenges are right now bothering us.
Data is now one of the keywords, because there's something that is even more exciting than ERP isn't a really exciting topic, so I mean that seriously. But we are here about your story, your journey with Zoho.
Yeah.
So what were you using Zoho for?
Okay, so you know, we in 2019 we were in the project of revamping our intranet. And one of the applications which was built on the intranet was the expenses. But at that point of time, expenses were only implemented in UAE and I think Saudi. Apart of that, no other markets were using the expense feature.
What did they do?
It was manual process. It was completely manual process. So just imagine that someone from the one category of the businesses has some marketing spend in Indonesia. Line manager sometimes is not aware because it's a matrix reporting. They need to exchange multiple emails between the Indonesia, then the finance, and the potential marketing from UAE to get this approval, and that you can proceed and claim this expense. So it was very inefficient process.
Oh yeah.
It could take between 2 to 3 weeks to get this something approved. So no, that definitely we had to change. And obviously, when you don't have that in a digital format, how you can ensure that the policy is deployed? How that the particular country is compliant? You don't know. So what we have done at that point of time, we took the 3 different buckets of the applications to analyze. The one was, what do we do if we, for example, develop that by ourselves? But then we could cover any possible scenario, but there are many disadvantages when you go for this kind of engagement. You have a long engagement with one partner. Any change requires time, cost. It's not straightforward. And then we said, so in this case, we would rather prefer to fix the process instead of trying to bring broken process to the system, which probably would be a tendency. The second bucket was, let's go for the expense system for one of the key players. But because we were in this transition, whatever we would choose, it would be nicely integrated with only one system and would probably have a challenges to integrate to the other.
You chose a third one, which maybe or not integrates nicely with the one, and maybe or not nicely with the others. So theoretically, you have that challenge not twice.
True. However, I'll tell you. So what we have decided to do when we finally decided, obviously, to go for the Zoho expense, as we've been using that for the last 5 years. But we have rolled it out globally for the travel expenses, for the employee expenses, and for the petty cash transactions. So basically, each and every expense has to go through the system. But all the detailed categorization, subcategorization, we keep in the Zoho itself, which means that the feed which goes to the ERP is not as enhanced. Hence, that's the reason we use for example, analytics to understand details of the spend. And on the ERP, we do not try to replicate that one by one. That made this, let's say, integration smoother. But what is also important, because we are shifting the users and the employees between the systems, we have right now the mechanism that we can very easily, for example, when this entity goes from one system to another, we just do we maintain the data in a Zoho that right now it is maintained by the different system and everything is very smooth.
Okay, so now you implemented Zoho for expenses, and what's been the outcome?
So first of all, there is no employee in the world who can do the manual expense. I mean, they can go and claim in the old way. Now, just to understand also the benefits, even for UAE, the people used to, for example, I'm getting back from the travel. I take my bills, I scan by one by one, I'm sending them to my mailbox. Then I need to open the new folder. I need to save each of them and renaming at that point of time from the scan to specific bill, I don't know, taxi, food, whatever. Then I had to open this expense. I had to itemize my expenses, attaching the right expenses, the right attachments, print the report after submission, clap all this together and put that into the cabinet. And every 2 weeks, the shared services used to collect that, and only then the reimbursement was happening. Nowadays, the people used to travel. They taking the photos on the spot, on the go when they are in travel, and when they reach the home location, they just mark this against this trip. Thank you. So you do everything in an electronic format. So reduction even for the business expense got from half an hour to 2 minutes. So this is the massive benefit. And we have to also keep in mind that when the people used to spend their own money, we are not holding them right now for 2 weeks or something like that. When they claim and it's approved, then everything afterwards happens automatically. The booking in the downstream system happens automatically. The request to the bank for the payment or reimbursement happens automatically. When the confirmation of the reimbursement comes to one of our ERPs, we are also sending this information back to the Zoho. So the people who are claiming, they don't have to be users in one of those ERPs. They use expense and they have a full visibility of what's happening.
Now, the approval process apparently seems to have become easier as well. How about, well, if there is a disagreement?
Okay, so there are two aspects. Sometimes some of the claims are pretty straightforward. You have only line manager, that's all. But based on the many different categories, we were able to, for example, involve easily HR manager for this particular unit, or admin manager for this particular unit, or finance manager for this particular unit. We managed all this employee data in a success factor. Then everything goes back to the expense, and then we know that against each and every expense, depends on the category, to who it should go. Now, obviously, you always can put, even some of the categories, we're forced to provide the justification. So it's not that you're only scanning the bill and you're entering the value there. You need to justify. Based on that, the people can take a call. Yeah, in respectively what kind of system you would use, there always can be the disagreement between the manager, for example, and the employee. But the important aspect is document is there, the claim is there, it goes before the line manager through validation of the finance and the HR. So any fraud is limited because it's not only one eyes who are looking at this particular bill.
So basically you're saying it's not only easier to approve, but also to discuss what's wrong. So, and faster, and easier,
and you
faster.
have everything in front of you, and even all internal communication between each and every party, we have that as a part of the Zoho expense. So you don't have to go to the email system, exchange multiple things. You do that everything in the system itself.
Okay, so how long did it take you to set this up?
Okay, so the initial implementation happened in 3 months for the UAE. And then we spent around 6 months rolling it out to the other countries. Now, the rollout was not the technical challenge, it was change management challenge, because at the same time we were introducing the new policy, which sometimes had to be localized. So there were two things coming together. Now, as a part of this initial phase, we implemented mainly travel expenses and the employee expenses. The petty cash came much later because that was much more complex. Now, because of the system and the user interface, which is pretty friendly and pretty straightforward, the adoption or no one can say that they don't understand what to do. We provide obviously all the manuals and everything to do that, but it's pretty straightforward. Now, the important aspect is we went live just after the COVID hit the world. When our previous process of scanning, clubbing everything, putting into the cabinet was not working because everyone worked from home. So it was pretty natural, added fuel to the fire really, and helped with the adoption because people didn't have any other chance. Now, when they used to spend, for example, their own money, they are very much interested to claim that as quickly as possible and to recover the money. So that was something which helped significantly. Also, at the beginning, we didn't have this amount of travel, which we have in a normal post-COVID world or pre-COVID. We only had this kind of situation when the people used to get back to their home countries when we had to procure because that is the responsibility of the company to procure the tickets and to send them back. So we had this kind of smooth start.
So basically, you got a huge push it's the first positive thing I heard about COVID, by the way. So you got a push for your project. Has there been any technical or an implementation challenge that you haven't foreseen?
Technical, rather not. I would say the biggest challenge, even which we are facing today, is to keep the data updated in the primary HR system. So if the people are, for example, shifting between, or they are changing the grade, whatever is happening with them, it should reflect in the success factor as quickly as possible. Because if the Zoho doesn't know this, because it's not entered anywhere, then the people used to come, okay, it went for the approval to the wrong person. And majority of our support is on that aspect. Obviously, sometimes we can have, for whatever reason, something on the interface side, but very rare at this point of time. So,
did you do the implementation yourself, or did you use Zoho or an implementation partner?
So because we were, I think, one of the first, or at the early stage, the enterprise customers for the Zoho, they were very much interested to make sure that this project is successful. So they get involved by themselves. Then, if we are talking about the integration between those systems, for all of them, we have a different partner who is supporting us. So we engage them.
Okay.
So, for example, if we are talking about the one ERP, the second ERP, the different partner, SuccessFactors, different partner, they get into a few calls at the project. For example, with the Zoho, they decided how they under our supervision, but from the technical standpoint, the both parties took the requirement and they implemented. We had a bit of hiccups at the beginning with the interfaces to the ERP, whenever we are talking about mainly sending the POs for the creation of the POs and then sending this information to the travel agency. But after some time we stabilized it.
And the inter-vendor and inter-SI cooperation worked smooth as well.
This is the model, at least we follow as an organization. We are heavily outsourced from the IT standpoint. What we keep really in-house is mainly our center of excellence, architects of the systems, or people responsible for the specific tracks in the ERPs itself. Whatever can be outsourced from the support, from the development perspective, we already outsourced that heavily in the past.
Do you stick the Zoho scope to expense, or do you have any other plans rolling more Zoho functionality out? So
as of today, we also use the Zoho Analytics. It was pretty natural choice when you are using the Zoho Expense to get the reporting out of this. But we are also using the Zoho Creator. And we are digitizing, the workflows where you don't have out-of-the-box systems. Sometimes very, very trivial, like a visitor management, but sometimes going for something like a freezer management, which is a combination of the management of the assets spread across the whole world. I think that's the majority as of today. Whenever we have a business challenge, this is where we are looking what is available on the market. Because we have a pretty good experience with the Zoho, obviously we first check what's there. If it's something is not there, then we look whatever else is on the market.
Okay. Any issues finding whether it is there or not? Because this is something I sometimes hear. So there are so much wealth of functionality available that I sometimes just don't see what I see.
No, I would rather say that more often we have a discussion if, for example, we should build some custom workflow in the creator, or we should use the functionality out of the box from the ERP standpoint. Yeah, and that is, I think, majority of our discussions.
Okay.
Sometimes they can say, okay, the interface in the ERP is too heavy, we want to have something simple. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes we rather foresee, please do that in the ERP because you are getting the benefits of A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
So this is where majority of the debates happen.
Sounds good. So last but not least, so I mean, you're 5 years now with Zoho, means the honeymoon is over. So there's, as it is, it's a relationship, right? So, and there usually is something that the one partner wants to get from the other partner and never gets. Is there something that comes to your mind?
So one of the things which we are right now a bit chasing our Zoho colleagues is to have a engagement with the global travel agencies. Because what we really need is that our employees, they should be able to request the tickets and have a local billing within the country itself. Because whenever we have a cross-country billing in this kind of services, very often the withholding tax is applicable. And obviously we don't want to pay taxes if we don't need to pay the taxes.
Yeah.
But we would like to have one partner who can provide us this local billing globally instead of going for integration of, with the 5 or 6 countries. That's what I would say is a bit of weakness as of today.
Okay.
The one more aspect which we are chasing also then is the Zoho Creator. We have 3 instances there. With this low code, you have a development, you have a stage, you have a production. We would like to have a functionality that you can bring the production data into your test environment. They are not giving you. So which means each and every time when you are asking the users to test the solution, they always work on the dummy data. Even a year after you have implemented the solution. Now, look from the perspective if you need to report something. People love to do the reporting based on the real data instead of dummy data, because only then they will be able to justify the numbers which are coming from the reporting are right or wrong. So, but I would say that's all what we are looking at least at this point of time.
So sounds like a smooth running, yeah? In general.
Zoho Expand has been, this implementation was cross-functional effort between the HR, finance, IT. This was the project which was identified as the biggest innovation delivered in 21-22, I think, for IFFCO group as general. So I think that's the best recognition which our teams could get, that everyone was happy at the end of the day.
Sounds great. Thanks for your time and your interesting story, actually. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And